Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to another tech chat. And today we have Arun. Arun is head of managed security services at Tata Advanced Systems, and he does awesome work. And then we've been speaking over LinkedIn, and he's been sharing a lot of security related news. And I thought, like, why not invite him to tech chat and talk more about more interesting stuff that he's doing in and around security and more things around the community, etc. So welcome, Arun. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Arvind, and I thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Tech chat is a beautiful thing that I'm seeing it right now, right here. Uh, Good that you thought that I could be part of it, and whatever little knowledge that I have, I would like to share with the community.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, as usual, let's keep it informal and like you could talk about
Yes.
anything and everything that you were like feeling and talking about security. So, Arun, I think I did give an introduction about yourself to folks about what you do in the current role, but I want you to tell about yourself. Yeah, I just want you to introduce yourself to the audience so that people will get to know what sort of work and your journey, etc.
All right. So the name is already there, but what is not there is I carry a rank with me. The last rank that I held in the Air Force was squadron leader. I served for about 10 years with the Air Force. And how I landed up there is like the usual part of, you do engineering and then you take their engineering knowledge test, the services selection board, then you go to the academy, then the Air Force Technical College, and then you get your postings. You do different work at every posting. It ranges from systems engineering to security to network security and whatnot. But specifically, I have to tell you, is like my first posting, it was far off in the east, and I was tasked to set up a training center for information warfare. So you say information security, the forces for them it is information warfare. It's very straight in that sense. So I my trigger for information security oblique warfare started there, and I set up the training center in Far East for all the people of Air Force. We train about 560 people in 2 years in basic information security and then advanced topics on threat hunting and stuff. So that's where that seed of information security was sown. Though I was always already trained on networks and systems engineering, RF communication, analog and digital communication, and so on and so forth. And then when I moved to my next posting somewhere in the Rajasthan area, I was the head of network operations and security operations center for the entire Air Force. They have a 3G mobile setup for which somebody was to be responsible. That I had that responsibility for about 2.5 3 years. I mean, unfortunately, I had some compassionate requirements. I moved back to Delhi, my hometown. So I was responsible for the information security oblique warfare for that unit. So that's how the journey of my services continue. And when they end up the short service commissioned, as they say, got over, I transitioned into corporate, uh, landing at Tata Advanced Systems Limited. Again, they have their own legacy, very much comparable to the Air Force. And now in this particular role, we are a managed security services provider. And if you search Tata Advanced Systems online, you will find that they are totally into aerospace and defense. But then there's just small vertical between aerospace and defense, which is cybersecurity. And I head their managed security services business. I roll up to Mr. Argabos, who's our practice head. Uh, while I say managed security services, that means we provide services in cybersecurity ranging from security operations center, threat intelligence, threat hunting, VAPT, and the list goes on and on. Fraud and risk intelligence, for that matter, and anything in the cybersecurity umbrella, we are in that service.
So, Arun, just to know, I heard you for the first time that you spoke about a lot of interesting details, a lot of questions in my mind. But then I just want to understand, like, do you also deal the customers from the foreign areas, or like, is it only Indian customers that the Tata Advanced Systems kind of like look at?
Okay, so for now, I think when we started, we're 5 year into cybersecurity, and our focus in the last couple of years has been India and APJ. Owing to the pandemic, we couldn't expand much, but then now we think that this is the year we would like to spread our wings. We are in that position to take that plunge to more regions. That's what
Hmm.
I know of. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. But I have a question around, like, your transition from security, I mean, defense services and something working for the nation to mostly like, corporate world. I also saw a lot many veterans choosing kind of, a role which is completely different, maybe administrative in nature than more technical in nature, but you kind of transitioned into this role wherein you were talking about you're now managing a big team, probably like head of managed security services for a specific big corporate icon. So I just want to understand, like, why did you choose this? Is it your natural interest, or like what is the specific reason?
Oh wow, that's a lovely question. I think not many have asked me. Uh, the straight answer is that this technology comes naturally to me. I was, very innovative when I was posted to different places. Like I said, setting up the training center, and there was one point wherein I created a product for the Air Force, which is they call it Vayu Sandesh. I named it. It's like reporting accident incidents of the aircraft through the SMS to the highest hierarchy. As on date, I think when I left it, it could serve 70,000 recipients through SMS of different services. Like, if your medical data is falling, if your appraisal needs to be fulfilled, if there's an accident or incident at a particular base, if your salary has been credited. So that's like customer services, but then from an Air Force perspective. So that's the product. So yeah, and then when I moved to image intelligence, there's some automation that I put in. So naturally, technology comes to me, and I think it will be better rather than going into administration, HR perspective. Let's continue the flow and see if that works.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, like we were talking about your journey, but what's your current role? I think again you mentioned this, and like your role in, like, do you manage a team, or like how is it? Do you have a lot of clientele that you serve? How is it in Tata Advanced Systems, and what do you do as a, maybe like for the audience who don't know like about managed security services, what is it?
Right. So day in, day out, I consult customers on security operations. I consult customers on security strategy. What should they? Where are they right now in the maturity curve, as they say? How can they be ahead of the curve? In the sense that attackers and defenders, they're defenders, and there are so many problems that the customers come to us seeking a solution for. You can call me an SME on Security Operations Center. That's when I face customers. Internally, I have triggered a couple of projects on a side note, wherein we try and experiment with latest you call it open source, you call it fully free and open source. We pick up those softwares and see how we can automate things which otherwise would require us putting a resource, or even if a resource is there, I want to augment him with additional capabilities with some automation. Like if he's an analyst on looking eye on the glass, but if I give him some tool which does threat hunting based on a structured manner or an intel based manner, I mean that will be another armor. That will be another set of armory that he can look at exploring.
Hmm.
So it's like a role between split between leading a team of about 25 people and then focusing customers as well, and helping them solve a few of the problems.
Hmm. So in this journey, Arun, like I know that like you were talking about like resources, like folks who kind of like take part in this journey. How is the ecosystem like when you want to hire an analyst? Like how diverse it is? Like uh, how do you go and do that? Like what do you think about the security ecosystem in the like India?
Okay. When somebody says ecosystem, I see it as a community. First of all, in an ecosystem, there has to be producers, there has to be consumers, and there has to be community that supports both of them. Taking an example of hiring an analyst, I think from the perspective that how are the colleges preparing them to be an analyst is like, I think there is a gap in the sense that I mean, I can take my example. I was never told that you can be recruited as a security analyst in a security services company. I was always we were always taught about programming languages. We were always taught about developing products. We were taught about topics that may not be entirely relevant today. Maybe I could pursue PhD and they can be relevant. But as on today, what I'm doing, a few of the topics are far fetched from what employable topics could be. So from the perspective that somebody gets graduated in an engineering stream or a science stream, could be taken straight away into as a security analyst role. I don't think. I mean, he can, but there are very good, specific colleges working on it, which prepare students, and their entire focus is on preparing students for cybersecurity roles. One of which we do recruit from.
Okay, very interesting.
That's
So
that's from that's where the input comes from. So if I have to hire somebody laterally, or if I have to hire somebody, at a senior role, he always has some experience in the entire cybersecurity ecosystem. Speaking of again the ecosystem, there are enough products solving so many different problems. To each his own. So if a customer has a particular problem and it gets solved by a particular solution, you can't say, they solved it better or I'm solving them better, right? So I can threat hunt without a commercial software. I can threat hunt with some open source software or with a commercial software. So there's enough on the ecosystem. I think as consumers, we need to pick and choose what we need to utilize.
Yeah. So one question that came to mind suddenly, like you were mentioning about hiring from colleges, you were mentioning about a lot of this. What do you think about like women in the security field? Like, do you see a lot of analysts or do you see a lot of interest? I know that in general, like you see generally less women participation in tech, and that's a problem that everyone wants to address and like give opportunities for. What do you think about that? Is it improving? What are your views on that?
Uh, my inputs to this particular question of yours is what we all consume on the internet. So like I said, there are so many communities for women in cybersecurity, and there are specific awards being put in, women performer of the year in cybersecurity and so on. So women CISO of the year. I mean, these are great steps to include people who may be very good at, we have not tested the potential. So from where I see, sitting in my office, I think we have a healthy mix of both male and female candidates. I won't say straight away from an analyst perspective, but I'm very much willing to hire female analysts because they bring a whole new perspective, and they do not come with that's my personal opinion. I would say they do not come with any prejudice in that sense. They are very unbiased to looking at things, and they call a spade a spade. I mean, I have to be
Okay.
fair.
That's interesting, and thanks for saying it as well. Like it's very a great view to talk about. So moving on, I want to ask about like threat hunting techniques. I know that you spoke about it, but then what sort of threat hunting techniques that you advise, encourage, or learn or talk about more in recent days? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, anyone of us can do a Google search and say what is threat hunting. You will get a result. You can read that theory, and you will get to know that there is structured threat hunting, there is unstructured threat hunting, there is threat hunting based on intel based, there is threat hunting based on hypothesis. So what I advise people, who don't want to go through that whole circle of reading the theory and then jumping into practical, I say that there are enough frameworks available, there are enough libraries available that you can pick up. Let's say, for an example, and I'm putting MITRE attack framework, and you look at network security scanning. To be specific, that's technique number 1046. The network security scanning is like somebody sitting outside the network and he's trying to scan your system. Okay, when he tries to scan the system, you get his IP, you get whether it is a vertical port scan, whether it is a horizontal port scan, you map it to what are the techniques that adversary uses, you find out the behavior and say, these are early signs of a particular adversary. And these are early signs that you can quote that you're particularly doing threat hunting. So that is like hypothesis based. But when you, let's say, what should I take an example for? Let's say you looked at the solar winds attack. You get IOCs, you get IP values, you get hashes, you get URLs that you should block. Okay, you've got a list of things. Now look at these things in your system. You will have to have access to logs and a tool like SIEM or a tool like EDR. You can look those IPs. That's like when you have a list and you try to find it in the environment. Other way of threat hunting, I think it can be trigger based. When the IOCs get triggered, you are alerted that particular behavior is there, and then you from that behavior you go pre and post.
Okay.
Pre attack behavior again from the MITRE framework, and the post enterprise attack framework. So that's how you do threat hunting. Maybe somebody who wants to start without going through the theory rule, like I just explained, he can go to the attack framework website, he can pick up a technique and try building his threat hunting
Good.
expertise. Yeah.
So here is where I kind of like when I'm learning, there's a lot about security in a lot of articles, websites, things to follow, people to follow, trainings as well. I mean, there are a lot of trainings as well. We'll come to that in a minute. I want you to tell me or the audience that what are the certifications that many employers or people look for, and then what are the trainings that you think that when probably you are hiring, or like say an analyst, someone who wants to become an analyst or something, like what are the certifications that are available and recommended, even
Hmm.
free, or like a credential to get, or a skill to have, or say paid as well, a certification.
All right. So I have very strong view in terms of certifications. I look at certifications for everyone, even at my level or somebody senior to me or somebody junior to me. Certifications can make you reach the interview table. Okay. So the application tracking system will look at keywords, will look at certificates, and you can be shortlisted. 10 applications, 7 of them have certificates. They will reach the interview table. Maybe you are part of 3 and you may not. So it's better you have certificates to at least align to the system. This is you can't fool the system, so
Yeah.
align to the system. So what are the certificates for beginners? I think from a hiring manager perspective, or looking at how ATS from the HR works, CEH is required, but I'm not sure how much value it adds to people. A lot of people have different views, but as long you carry CEH, or for that matter, CompTIA's Security Plus, you carry CH, and then on the interview table you can demonstrate it. You can pick up examples where you improve the network defense, improve the network security or application security, wherever you're applying to, whichever job you're applying to. If you can demonstrate that while I'm speaking to you on phone or video or face to face, I'm good. I'm good at listening to you. I mean, if that convinces me, then in some of the time I will forget what certificates you have, because you have the capability,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
Starting with,
Yeah.
I mean, very interesting question I do ask from a lot of people. I like, what have you done to your home Wi-Fi? I mean,
Yeah.
you are a security expert, right? What have you done? So have you limited the DHCP pool? Have you included the MAC addresses in the number of devices? Have you changed the router password, the Wi-Fi password? There are multiple things from the home Wi-Fi perspective. So look at your home as an organization. Try to add things. You will test your capability.
That's amazing. Like I think I have read a lot of blogs about home Wi-Fi. A lot many people might think that oh, why there are blogs about maybe someone who is not exactly from security background but a developer who codes and like just want to take a look at security, and then like there's a lot of
Yes.
blogs of people using Raspberry Pi, or like trying to do all of this. Is this just a hobby project? But then like that's an interesting take as well. So it kind of like helps, if it is a question then and an interview, I mean, what not, like it's a very good question, like it explain
I mean,
internet
I
to
mean,
me,
it
like in a web development.
basically tells. Yeah, sorry. It basically tells your approach to security. You're trying to be part of a system which talks security day in day out. And what have you done? What steps you do at your personal level, right?
Yeah. So, Arun, also let's talk about the trainings part. Like, I keep hearing from LinkedIn, and a lot of security professionals talk about SANS security training. And what do you think about security training? Do you see, I mean, where do you reach out for taking security training? And what are the maybe some specific cloud specific trainings? Are there anything something like that? Like nowadays, it's more on cloud now.
I think personally, if you ask me, for the last 1 year, I haven't had neutral trainings, but I've had trainings with product OEMs. Speaking of vendor neutral trainings, the currently not for people who are entering cybersecurity, but people at mid to senior level. CCSP is picking up pace. You spoke about SANS training. I mean, highly respectable, but highly priced.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm trying to hire incident handler or incident responder, and if he's already GCIH, uh, my confidence in him will grow multifold. Before the interview,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So stance training are very well respected. I personally would like to go for one of them when I have the money. Currently, I'm eyeing, not that you're from the organization, but then I'm eyeing something around elastic security, a certification in elastic. That's one of the point in my radar. CCSP, yeah, it's picking up pace. People are taking it up, and it gives you quite an understanding into vendor neutral cloud security principles and best practices,
Hmm.
right?
Thank you for telling those. But Arun, like you also see, I've seen you posting about the latest techniques, and like you recently posted on LinkedIn, which I saw, and like which led to this conversation about CAPEC,
Right.
or technique or method that you want to talk about, like specifically. I found it very interesting as well.
Okay. I think at this point in time, I cannot tell you the whole circle, but I can at least tell you why I am looking at CAPEC. So CAPEC is common attack, patterns and enumerations. Okay. Uh, so why I am looking at CAPEC is from a perspective that it helps in threat modeling. So let's say I have one page website, which is static, and the page has about 10 input rows. Okay. If they have input columns, input rows, input fields, to that matter, input fields, every input field will be prone to SQL injection, let us say. Okay. So when you go to CAPEC and find out SQL injections, there could be multiple ways in which SQL injections can take place. So if you see one field and there are 5 ways that this particular field can be attacked, that becomes an attack tree. For an SQL injection, I can exploit it one way. So these are patterns. These are common attack patterns to achieve SQL injection. Okay, that is one point. Let's say for the same website, an attacker wants to footprint it. If you go to the CAPEC, you will find, more than 8 to 10 ways, common ways through which somebody could footprint a website, either through host discovery, network discovery, and so on and so forth. Similarly, when you match it up with attack framework, you will match it to technique number 1046, which is network security scanning. I hope I am correct in the number.
Yeah.
So that's how you map it up. CAPEC gives you the attack tree for threat modeling, and MITRE gives you the techniques and tactics used. If I have to broadly categorize both of them, MITRE attack from network defense perspective, CAPEC from application security perspective.
Before we close, I have one last question, Arun, about I see many people talk about the application world, the application security world, and then the SIEM and the entire these both ecosystems are like the data between them, the sharing, the sharing and collaboration is increasing. Like there is an increasing need for the analysts to understand what's happening inside the application, or like probably understanding more about the application security and more details around it with containers and a lot more things that are coming up today. So what do you think about that? About the whole application security world, and then talking about the SIEM and the SOCs use cases as well.
Okay, so SIEM, and you call it SIEM, you call it SOC, and then there's this, for automation there is SOAR. The multiple words. Let's call it SecOps. Security operations is entirely. So security operations is entirely about visibility. So you are an organization, you have 100 servers, and you've integrated every one of them in security operations center. Okay, but what you've missed out your public-facing website, which is your crown jewel, facing the public, prone to attack. Attackers, when they run a scan against your infrastructure, they come up to your website. So having visibility on the application portion is essential to protecting the crown jewel. As a security operations person, I would recommend that. At the same time, when the underlying infrastructure, the server and all, you integrate the application security logs as well. It gives you a complete visibility into what is happening, what techniques and tactics and procedure are being exploited, or the attacker is at what stage. It may be at the stage wherein he's trying to exploit the layer 7 vulnerabilities, or he's at the level where he's looking at layer 3 and layer 4 network vulnerabilities and so on and so forth. The application security, now they're looking at DevSecOps, they're containerizing it. In all that sense, as long as you have visibility on your security operations, you could correlate things, as in when somebody scans you, as in when somebody moves laterally within your environment. You can correlate things with complete visibility. That's what my input would be. Yeah,
that's great. Again, thank you, Arun, for sharing a lot of interesting inputs about trainings, hiring, women in Infosec, and a lot of other topics. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to feature and discuss about all things security. I look forward to featuring again and probably taking another interesting topic and then discuss more about security. It's not enough, and then we might want to again discuss about another stuff as well. So thank you, Arun, for doing the stream, and I'll just end the show today. And for the folks who are watching the session, we are doing these events more and more. So please share, and subscribe, and the channel. And then we'll come back soon with another interesting session in Tech Chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arvind. I would like to say that there are so many topics that we touched. Time wasn't. It can never be enough, and there's so much to speak. and every topic that as you go forward, it becomes deeper and deeper, and there are so many things to touch upon. Good that you touched, at least we touched the top layer of all the topics, and we could generate enough interest. I hope we generate enough interest in people so that they pick up these topics, look at internet, start exploring. Maybe sometimes they could be featured here.
Yeah, obviously,
Thank you so
obviously.
much. Yeah.
Thank you, Arun, for joining us and sharing your thoughts. It's great.
Thank you, everyone.